Hi everyone, welcome back. It's LC editor for World Aviation Festival, and today I'm joined by Manuel van Esch, Managing Director of zeroG, part of Lufthansa Group. It's a pleasure to have you with us today, Manuel.
It's a pleasure to be here, Elsie.
So, obviously, at World Aviation Festival this year, agentic AI is a huge hot topic, massive buzzword. But is it more than just that? And how can the aviation industry invest in agentic AI that has real impact and longevity? Do you have any specific use cases or anything that you'd like to highlight today?
Yeah, agentic AI really pioneered and became an important topic for the aviation industry. And I think it's not just the aviation industry, but like taking every industry at storm. At zeroG, we're sometimes a little bit critical on what actually agentic AI is or what it is not. Is it just a large language model? Is it just like Gen AI that makes a certain decision in certain areas? Or is it real agentic AI? I think those are interesting conversations, but not usually relevant for business people. Ultimately, what we want to do with agentic AI is alleviate a lot of the work pressure around airline professionals, making sure that they can focus on things that are important to them, as well as important to their customers. So ultimately, that we serve the passengers. And where we can see this a lot is, for example, within fraud prevention, quick decision-making around tail swaps, where agentic AI can be of a big relief towards hub control centers or IOCCs. As well as the entire environment around making sure the customer service really feels like a service and not just like a technology that you're engaging with, but it proactively anticipates your needs and adjusts accordingly. And so I think where agentic AI will really make a big difference is making sure the passenger experiences becomes way more smooth, way more intuitive, and way more personal. Agentic AI will have a big impact on how airlines operate and make decisions. Not every decision needs to be made by a human agent, by a human person, but humans need to be involved. And then ultimately where agentic AI will really have a big impact is administration. As I said, fraud prevention, making sure that we're not duplicating work and all that kind of stuff. It sounds a little bit generic, but I think in the industry we're still looking for that unique silver bullet use case that's going to show really the big impact of agentic AI. The most important part is though that we're all eager to apply this technology in real life.
Okay. As you said, obviously there's no sort of silver bullet use case, but have you seen any specific use cases that you're very excited about or that have been really successful and have delivered real impact to customers, as you said at the end?
Yes, actually. So a project that we've done way before agentic AI became a hot, sexy topic was when we used reinforcement learning for tail swaps, actually. So a lot of hub control centers or IOCCs make decisions on tail swaps based by the flight ops controller. And usually the flight ops controller was optimizing for each 8-hour shift, meaning at the end of like 2 8-hour shifts, there were no reserve aircraft anymore there to be put into operations. And so what we've built was a reinforcement learning based recommendation engine, which might now call agentic AI, making recommendations towards human flight ops controllers on when to do a tail swap and what the effect of that tail swap will be on the overall stability of the flight plan. And I think the most important decision that we've made back in the day was that humans need to ultimately make this decision. And I think, and this is a project that we've done 8 years ago, and now we see like a transition towards more and more people trusting in the AI system to make a decision based on their behalf. And I think that element of trust is where the silver bullet use case will have the most leverage. It's not only the technology itself or the data underpinning that technology or the business case, even though a lot of business people try to believe that. Ultimately, what really makes the big difference is, do we as people trust an AI system to make decisions in a safe environment where we can still feel in control? And this is a little bit where I think the evolution is moving towards and where we will find the best use cases, for example, with the tail swap example.
Perfect. Yeah, that's really interesting what you're saying about keeping humans in the loop. So yeah, sort of moving on to something sort of similar. In terms of AI implementation, what are the most common pitfalls that you think we're seeing? Obviously, as you said, like perhaps sort of unrealistic expectations about what AI might be able to do. But yeah, what sort of processes and people do you need in place to make your AI strategy as effective as it can be?
Well, obviously within the European Union, so it's very important that the EU AI Act is a very important thing, that we keep that in mind, that we build ethical practices around AI. Another thing that people tend to forget is the importance of purpose-ready data. So is there enough data available in the continuously high quality that an AI system can actually start running? The second thing is, or the third thing after EU AI Act as well as data availability is the business case itself. And I think this business case also sometimes gets a little bit confused business case is like both, from my point of view, a pitfall as well as a necessity. I think in terms of AI adaptation and AI strategies at airlines, they used to just think in one way. So everyone is focused on cost saving. And cost saving is one important benefit of AI, but there are two more horizons that might be just as important. So it's not just automation that AI does, but it's also insight generation. So through AI, you generate a lot of new insights that you can then implement and use to optimize your processes, and your process optimization also has a very big business case, but usually people don't tend to focus on that. And then thirdly, AI also leaves the opportunity to create new business models. So you can integrate other offerings of other parts of the travel chain, not just your own flight, natively within a customer journey. And so that opportunity, that opens up new opportunities for new business potential as well. So those three levels in terms of automation, cost savings, insight generation to improve your processes, and then also use AI to create new business models. I think this is a little bit the way that airlines need to start focusing on how to implement an AI strategy. And a lot of airlines just get bogged down on focusing on one thing, which is cost saving. So that's more the third thing. And then maybe finally the fourth thing, and this is very relevant for us, is making sure that you're building an AI collaboration model. So how do you go from ideas that your organization bubbles up within your organization, and you have a very clear streamlined pipeline on how you go from idea to implement at scale AI application. There's a lot of things that need to happen in between, and just saying we're going to implement AI is not going to be the right thing. So you need to have the right skill set at each part of the value creation of an AI model to make sure it runs at scale. And I think those are the four main important things. So EU AI Act, data availability, making sure the business model runs on all three horizons, not just one, and then finally making sure that you have an organizational alignment on how you create value from AI.
Yeah, four very helpful, helpful steps there. So just sort of round off, you mentioned several use cases already in terms of tail swapping and also like customer chatbots and things like that. But what do you think is the next frontier for AI in aviation? What are these are the use cases that we're going to see being implemented over the next 5 years, but what about in the next 15 or 20? What do you think we can go next?
I love those questions, but they're also a little bit tricky because ultimately I cannot look into the future. I don't have like a if I had a crystal ball, AI ball that would predict how the future would look like.
When ask AI.
There you go. Yeah. No. We could create that. But when I joined the aviation industry, I was not allowed to use the word AI because it was so distant and it sounded like a trend, and no one really cared about that. And it was the first time I joined the World Aviation Festival where no one used the word AI except for us.
Wow. And so much has changed.
And so much has changed since like specifically the last 3 years, AI became a really big thing. So it's always a challenge to say, this is what's going to be the future. But I think what we will see more of is holistic problem solving. And what I hoped that AI will help airlines to do is not focus on solving singular use cases or building singular solutions or implementing features that just make the current status quo a little bit better, but that we find holistic ways to solve flight scheduling, network planning, and crew management. So that this becomes a holistic problem solving and not just single steps along a chain. And the other thing that I hope for the aviation industry, I'm using the word hope deliberately, I'm not saying this is going to be the future, but it's a hope that I have, is that we become a little bit more imaginative. I think the aviation industry itself triggers imagination and a longing in people to travel and explore, but the industry itself is sometimes relatively conservative. And if we look at the potential of AI, it helps us imagine opportunities. So instead of saying, if I observe A, B needs to be implemented, right? You can have AI come up with multiple scenarios and help us imagine in a new way how we can run this industry, which I love. I never thought I would, but it's a very fascinating industry. And making sure that we become a little bit more imaginative, that actually fits very well with how passengers enjoy our products. So that's a little bit my hope, but I'm not going to say that this is my prediction.
Okay, that's fair. But that's a nice vision for the future. Thank you. And a good note to close on. So thank you very much, Manuel, for sharing this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The great festival.